Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about something that both frustrates me and excites me at the same time, and that's going to be getting good grades in school. So when I was an undergrad, I had a 3.95 in my major and a 4.0 in my minor, and then in grad school I had a 4.0 as well. And I get the question a lot, what study skills can I use to be more effective at school, whether it be a junior high, high school, college, and so on and so forth. And it's really not that complicated. So I wanted to break it down to 3 really simple ideas or steps or concepts to focus on to help make you a more efficient student. So really college in general is broken down into 3 things. You have understanding your professors, writing good essays, and taking tests well. And if you do those 3 things well, typically your grades will reflect that, right? So let's start off by talking about the professor. Now each professor has a way that they like to do things, right? Some of them are a little bit more quirky, some of them prefer to put more emphasis on tests, some of them like you to write more straightforward, while others prefer fluff. It kind of just depends on the professor. So the very first thing you should do at the beginning of every semester is ask them questions. How do you prefer your essays? Do you mind if we go over length, or do you prefer to really stay with that page limit? Do you generally do tests through the book, or do class notes really make an impact? Now, some professors aren't going to give you all that information, which is fair because they don't want you to circumvent the process and kind of pick and choose what you decide to focus on. So in that case, you ask former students, hey, what did he focus on, or what did she focus on? That's the very first thing you should do, is figure out how that professor likes to do things, because just like anything else in life, if you understand the rules to the game, chances are you'll have a better chance of winning, right? So understand how the professor likes to do things before going into each semester and before your first big exam or big essay. Okay, now what about those essays? Well, the first thing you should do when you're writing any type of essay is take about 30 minutes to an hour to just plan. Don't write anything, don't list anything, just break it down into large groupings. So break it down to your introduction, your however many bodies of paragraphs you want, and then your conclusion. And label each one, give them a header. So if I'm talking about something historical, break down my intro into, let's say I'm doing 3 body paragraphs. Figure out what 3 things on that historical topic I want to talk about. List those 3 things in the intro. Get your resources first. So get all the articles you want to use if your essay requires articles. And if it doesn't, great, you lucked out, so you can kind of add some fluff in there. But if it does, get those first 2, make that intro really clean and crisp so you know what you're going to talk about. Label your body paragraphs, and then at the end you can throw together your conclusion, which is really just a reflection of your introduction. Okay, so spend 30 minutes to an hour breaking that down, and then if you need to get references, spend your time before you write anything getting the references. Don't write your paper and then look for references as you write it. Get those references first, knowing what the 3 body paragraphs or how many body paragraphs you need are on, what topic they're on, and find resources to support the body paragraph before writing it. Okay, and again, you need to ask the professor how they like to do things. Don't worry about page numbers. Don't worry about anything like that until the very end, because you can always cut down your essay and you can always add to it. So don't worry about that. Ask your professor how they like it. Create that outline, get your resources, and then just write. Don't worry about page numbers. Edit it at the end, okay? Now what about tests? There's a lot of test anxiety. A lot of people talk about that. Well, how do you reduce test anxiety? You don't need a breathing technique. You need to be prepared. The best way to reduce test anxiety is to be ready for the test. So in college, most things you can prepare for ahead of time, right? They give you your syllabus. You kind of know what chapters the tests are going to be over or what topic it's going to be over. So you can break down your time efficiently. This is even more so true when it comes to grad school. Some undergrad things, not as much. They walk you through a little bit more, not as much as high school. As you get further along in the educational system, they typically give you a little more leeway. But for the most part, you have some room to maneuver, right? So when you're deciding how to study for your tests, break down the chapters or the information into sections. So let's say I have 4 weeks until my test. I'm going to break down the material into 3 weeks. I'm going to study that material over 3 weeks, and then the 4th week is going to be just review. You don't study the last week before a test. You review the last week before a test. Now, what's the best way to review? Flashcards, some type of online program. I think the best way to review is to teach. So what I used to do is I used to get as many people as I could together, and I would try to teach them the information in the library, because I felt like if I could teach somebody how to do it, then that can really gauge how much of that information I've consolidated and how much I know. So that was a good measure for me going into the test. So, okay, I taught blankety, blankety, and blankety how to do it. So chances are I know how to do it. And they can push you. They can say, well, have you thought about it this way? Well, that's not true because X, Y, or Z. And so there's this back and forth collaborative, and I found that to be the best way for me to study. So those are 3 really easy, kind of broad conceptual ways to look at how to be a great student in college in particular. Understand your professors. Break down your time efficiently when it comes to writing. Get all the information, the outline, and your resources first. And then when it comes to test taking, break down your time efficiently. If it's 4 chapters, do a chapter and a half a week. Do it by page numbers. If it's 100 pages, break that down to 3 weeks. And then on that 4th week, just review. Get a group of people together, review the information. That will show you if you really know. If you can teach it, you know it. All right, guys. Appreciate your time. Please go ahead and like, follow, subscribe. Check out the links in the section below here for my other social media platforms. Let me know what you think or what study tips have been effective for you in college.